All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP for short. Think of it as a new standard that's completely changing how AI models plug into the real world. We're moving them from being just brains in a box to being truly helpful assistants that can actually use our tools and understand our data.
And this quote from Anthropic really hits the nail on the head. It's the whole reason we're talking about this today. An AI can be the smartest thing in the world, but if it doesn't have the right information, the right context, it's basically flying blind. MCP is all about solving that problem by creating one standard, reliable way to give our models the context they need to stop guessing and start helping.
So to really get why MCP is a big deal, you have to look at what things were like before. And honestly, it was chaos. Every single time you wanted to connect an AI to a new tool, say GitHub or a sales database, you had to build a completely new custom connection from scratch. It created this tangled mess that developers call spaghetti code. And trust me, it's as messy and unappetizing as it sounds.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, that's the old way. It's a tangled web of one-off connections, where every single strand is a weak point that could break. It's expensive, and it's a nightmare to maintain. But on the right, that's the new world with MCP. It's clean, it's one single standard way to connect. You build it once, and it just works.
So this is the solution to all that chaos. The Model Contexture Protocol is designed from the ground up to be that universal connector. It creates a single, predictable language that all our AI systems and all our tools can finally use to talk to each other. It's all about bringing a little sanity and order to the AI world. And honestly, this is the best way to think about it. Remember that junk drawer full of old charging cables? Every phone, every camera had its own weird proprietary plug. It was a total mess. And then USB-C came along and fixed it. One plug to rule them all. That is exactly what MCP is doing for AI. It's the one plug that will connect any tool to any model.
So, to get a little more formal for a second, the Model Context Protocol is an open standard first introduced by Anthropic. Its whole purpose is to create a single, secure pipeline for AI assistants to talk with the outside world. And it's not just a one-way street. We're talking about a real, two-way conversation between the AI and its tools.
Now, the real magic of MCP, the architectural genius behind it, comes down to one simple but powerful idea that developers absolutely love. It's called separation of concerns. All it means is that MCP draws a very clear, very deliberate line between the data an AI can read and the actions it can take. And this simple separation, it's the key to building AI systems that are both incredibly powerful and incredibly safe.
So here are the two fundamental building blocks of MCP. On one side, you've got resources. The best way to think of these is as read-only library books. You give them to the AI so it has background info, but it can't change them. Then, on the other side, you have tools. These are the action heroes. The AI itself gets to decide when to use a tool to actually do something, like run a command, send an email, or query a database. One is for reading, the other is for doing.
Okay, let's make this real. Imagine you want an AI to analyze your sales data. First, you'd give it the database schema as a resource. This is like giving the AI a map of the data, so it knows what tables and columns exist. It's totally safe, it's just reading. Then, once the AI understands the map, it can pick up a tool to actually drive, to write and run the right SQL query to get the answer you need. See? The resource gives it the knowledge, and the tool gives it the power to act on that knowledge.
Okay, so now that we've got the basics of resources and tools down, this is where things get really interesting, because you can start plugging these servers together to build some incredibly sophisticated AI systems. We're moving beyond just a simple connection now and into a full-blown architectural framework.
And this right here is the concept that unlocks everything else. An MCP server that provides a service can also be a client and consume services from another server. The moment you grasp that, you realize you can start chaining them together, creating these complex workflows to handle almost anything.
This ability to chain things together gives us two main ways to build. First, there's client orchestrated. Think of your app as the conductor of an orchestra. It tells the GitHub server when to play, the database server when to play. It manages the whole show. The other pattern is server to server, which is more like a chain of command. One high-level server can delegate tasks to other more specialized servers, hiding all that complexity from you.
And look, building things this way gives you huge advantages. First, you get specialization. Your database server only has to be good at databases. It doesn't need to know anything about weather APIs. You also get isolation. If that weather API server goes down, who cares? It doesn't take your whole system with it. And finally, you get incredible flexibility. You can just swap servers in and out like Lego bricks as your project evolves.
So with these composition patterns, we can build some really powerful tools. API integration is probably the most common, letting your AI call out to get livestock prices or flight information. Data processing tools are great for running calculations on a file you've uploaded. A system command tool could let the AI safely list files in a directory. And then you have more advanced stuff, like a stateful session tool that remembers things from one command to the next, or a notification tool, which is super important for long jobs, letting the AI send you progress updates so you know it's still working.
Okay, so when you're giving an AI the keys to interact with real systems, security and stability aren't just suggestions. They are absolutely crucial. With great power comes great responsibility, right?
So if you're building an MCP server, these are the non-negotiables. You have to validate every single piece of data that comes in to stop attacks. For example, if your tool needs a file path, you better make sure the AI isn't trying to trick it into reading sensitive system files. You also need rock-solid access control, so the AI only gets the permissions it absolutely needs and nothing more. And finally, you have to handle your errors safely. Log the details on your server, for sure, but never, ever leak that information back to the user.
And this is one of the really clever built-in safety features of MCP. The protocol itself lets your server provide these little hints about what its tools do. A destructive hint can tell the user's application, hey, you might want to ask for confirmation before you let me delete this file. On the flip side, a read-only hint can tell them, don't worry, this operation is totally safe. It's all about building trust and transparency with the user.
All right, let's talk about one last feature, and it's one of the most powerful, but also maybe one of the most misunderstood parts of MCP. It's called sampling, and it fundamentally puts the human back in the loop.
So check this out. Instead of a server having its own direct line to an AI model, it can actually ask the client, that's your application, to generate some text for it. The server sends a request. Your app uses its own AI to generate a response. Your app gets to review and maybe even edit that response, and only when it's approved does it get sent back to the server.
And this is just so important. This whole process means the user's application, with all of its own safety rules and guardrails, is always the final checkpoint. The server doesn't need its own expensive AI model, and you, the user, get complete control and visibility over what's happening. You're always in the driver's seat.
And look, this isn't just a theory or a proposal. The MCP ecosystem is real, and it is exploding. Right now, there are over 19,000 public MCP servers out there, ready to connect AI to just about anything you can imagine, from GitHub to local files to crypto wallets, and that number is climbing every single day.
Which really just brings us to the final question. We are right here, right now, watching a universal standard for AI integrations take hold. It's like being there for the birth of USB. The tools are here, the patterns are clear, and the community is growing fast. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with it?